and welcome back to the Kenya Travel Secret Podcast, where we help first-time traveler to travel to Kenya without feeling overwhelmed, stressed out, or just having a fear of like, oh my god, I'm gonna miss out, or I don't know what's actually happened, how the procedures are working. So that's why, don't worry, you got me. So in case you don't know me yet, my name is Sinja and I am a travel consultant. Over 9 years ago I traveled to Kenya and then I just fell in love with Kenya and the country and itself, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna be my home. So since then I've been traveling. The last 2 years I'm traveling with my 2-year-old son, and I help first-time travelers to experience and explore the real Kenya and help you plan your itinerary. So if you're interested in that, you find a free Kenya travel checklist down below. So just get a link and then you can apply for a call either with me or one of my team members, which is for free, the first call, and then we can get it started. But today, if you're watching to this episode on YouTube, you can see I'm in a new place. And I've been traveling, oh my god, the other day, just yesterday, the day before yesterday we arrived, and I drove over 12 hours by myself in my 4x4 from Nairobi, from Thika, which is around Nairobi, up to here to Malindi, which is the north coast in Kenya at the Indian Ocean. And this was not easy, and this is something I'm asked so many times about. Sinja, can I do a self-drive safari? Of course now we drove to the beach, not on safari, but there are so many tips and tricks because I have my car now since over 1 year and I've been doing quite some adventures with my car in Kenya, and my nanny and my son, and maybe even right now a friend of mine as well. Some really cool adventures around Kenya, and just want to share with you my knowledge, the tips and tricks I have learned since I have my car now since 1 year, driving in Kenya as a foreigner in this country, going on safari with my own car. If I would advise is how to deal with police, corruption, and just a few tips and tricks on what to pack on top, what to take, and some small things which I have learned while being on the road. So yeah, if you're excited for this, give it a like, share it with your friends, and let's get right into it. So let's start with the first point, your route. When I was going from Thika to Malindi, where we are now, I'm saying it's 650 kilometers drive. In Kenya, you cannot rely on Google Maps only. Google Maps is not bad in some parts, but it's not the way to go. So I typed in, of course, Thika, I go to Malindi, and then as usually Google Maps gives you the fastest route. And then I'm like, yeah, okay, wow, it's 8.5 hours, but it takes me from Thika to Garissa and then somewhere around to the coast. And I was like, I know that this part's in northern Kenya, especially Garissa, it's where my alarm rings already, we're like, oh, this road might not be safe. Yes, Google is saying it or suggesting it, but I don't believe this is safe. So I've been calling around and asking my work partner I work with, who helps me who's actually doing the safaris. He himself, he drives all over Kenya with his own car, his friends are drivers. And I was like, okay, can you help me? Because what is the best way to drive? Because I don't trust in that route. And then when he saw the route, he was like, oh my god, Sinja, do you want to kill yourself? Going to Garissa, first of all, is not safe at all. This is like a no-go zone. Like, you should not go there at all when you drive your car by yourself as a foreigner in this country. And also he's like, it's not only about the road that might not be safe. Right now we are still having some rains. It's not a typical raining season, but we still experience rains. Then he's like, some of those areas or roads, they can be actually flooded. So Google Maps might show you ways which are not existing or which are over flooded during raining season, and then you get stuck in. And what do? You have to get someone out of there, or you have to turn around because the roads are actually not even passable for a car. So I was like, okay, I'm happy I asked. And then he found me a route through Kitui, through Voi, and then actually not entering Mombasa. Before Mombasa, he showed me a shortcut, now going to Kilifi and then the highway to Malindi, which was at the end of the day 10.5 hours driving without breaks or stopovers, which is like 2 hours more than the other route was suggesting, but worth it because it was safe and actually faster, and the only optional route. So in short, what I'm trying to tell you here is, if you are planning your route, you have to be with someone, an advisor, or where you have hired your car rental service. You have to make sure that these people are knowledgeable and they can share with you the actual situations about the weather. Are these roads passable? Are these roads safe? Is there anything happen? Especially if you're driving through northern Kenya as well, is where we come to some areas where we have tribal fights. So depending on the situation, the timings when you are coming, there might be some things happening. So you do not want to drive there by yourself. So these are like warning signs you have to ask. Even right now it might be safe, but the moment you come it might not be. In northern Kenya, I'm not talking about like here at the beach areas. This is completely safe, don't get me wrong. But we have some areas in Kenya, especially when it comes to the borders, Somalia, Sudan, all the border areas which you should not drive by yourself. Not unless you have a local guide with you, or you are a very experienced driver, or you have some protection or something with you and you exactly know what you're doing. But if you're a first-time traveler, which I think you are because you're here listening to this podcast, then stick to the normal routes or get professional advice before you plan your route. So that's the first step. So the second point I want to talk about is more like the necessities. What do you need? Can you even drive yourself? And this is actually pretty simple. You just need to get a car and a car rental service, and you need to have a driving license. Some countries do need, depending on where you come from, you need an international driving license. So that one you just have to Google or just confirm with the car rental service wherever you get your car from to make sure that you have the valid documents. And then you have to make sure that your car, the one you're getting, has an insurance. That's the thing the police will check all the time on the road, especially if they see white people driving a car or foreigners at all driving cars in Kenya. And what I did is, because I just want to have my life easy, and of course you guys know, or most likely know, I live in Kenya nowadays, so I moved here completely. I got a Kenyan driving license, and I also have a Kenyan ID, which is like my national card to be a resident in Kenya, which makes my life very easy, because now when I come into a police check, I have my documents. But for you as a foreigner, just get an international driving license so that you're on the safe side. But I believe if you're like from the UK or some European countries, you don't even need that. Like, you can actually drive with your card, like your normal driving license. But then you might happen, the moment you get into police, you know, they might ask you questions, because at the end of the day, I'm sorry to say, but police, which is my third point, is a bit a tricky thing here. So they are very corrupt. And yes, Kenya is corrupt and not many people talk about it. That's why I'm here now talking about the untalking things, because for us, especially if you're a female and a white traveler and you're just by yourself, I travel alone with my son through entire Kenya, and I get stopped so many times. And I think one of the secrets already is, like, I would never get a 5-seater car and drive it through Kenya, apart from that it cannot manage all the roads. But it's also about the police. I feel like if you drive a 4x4 car, the probability that your car is getting stopped is way smaller than you driving a normal 5-seater car. And when you have a 5-seater car, police is gonna harass you. Also, when you drive 4x4, of course, police can come and harass you. That is their right, and that's their job. They have to make sure Kenyans, they are safe. So they are just trying to do their job. But the problem in Kenya is, the moment they realize you are not Kenyan, or you're not from around, or you don't know the rules, they are trying to put in some things on the way. Which means, for example, they're gonna make you ask for documents, like apart from your license, then they want. And there was one case they really harassed me. It was years ago. That time I wasn't driving, I was just witnessing by myself, that they were asking the driver, and he was actually a Kenyan, but he saw that he's driving with us, white people, and then it was like, okay, the guy just wanted to have some money. And he found, like, okay, this car is hired, it's not his car, so he was asking for extra documents, and then the logbook, and so many things, which he's not even supposed to ask. But he was making my friend, who was the driver, so uncomfortable that we ended up, or I believe he ended up bribing him something, because he wanted to arrest the car. So I don't know exactly what was happening, and I don't want to fear you at all. The moment you have your papers done, you are good to go. You do not have to be afraid of police. And I'm telling you now, like, I would not bribe police. Not unless you're on the wrong side of the law. But now let's say you have not done anything wrong. You have your papers, you have not been over speeding, you have not been overtaking a yellow line or something. So there's nothing wrong with you or with the car. Then there's no way you have to pay them chai or lunch or invite them for something. That's how they call it. You don't have to do that. You don't have to pay them. So what you should do is just be polite. And that's mostly like my strategy I use. I'm very like, when it comes to police, I play like very polite, innocent, like, oh my God, yeah, I don't know. Because I feel like they just want you to acknowledge them and show them, yeah, that you are new in this country, but he's the boss. Just give them the feeling, you are the boss, you're right, whatever you're saying, you're the innocent person, you don't know anything. Now, cases change when they want to take you to court, like now when you have done something actually. Like last time I was driving, where was I going? I was driving to Mombasa to Diani, not this trip, another trip. And then I was driving and I was like, so convinced like I've done nothing wrong, police is coming to stop us. And then the police officer saying, yes, I have seen just down there, we have cameras, you have overtaken on a yellow line, which of course you are not allowed to do, but in Kenya, to be honest, if you want to move forward, you're gonna do that. Like, I do it, don't do it. It's not an advice to do that. But he saw me and he's saying that he has it on video. So now, of course, I'm not sure if that's true, but he's right, I overtook on the yellow line. So now he gave me the option, he's like taking me out of the car, so that's his thing. He takes you behind the car so that he can talk to you one by one, so that he's not interfering with anyone else. And then he's opening up. You know, I have you on a video and you have been overtaken. And then he's trying to scare you to death. Don't allow any man, or woman, police officer to scare you to death. And then they're like, you know, this can be a court case, and you know, usually this court case goes like for 40 or 50,000 shilling, which is like 400, 500 USD dollars. And so just give me your license and then I will handle this over and it will be a court case. Or you can just come to the police office with us. And that's now where they are playing their games. And they are starting. And I'm like, okay, yeah, fine. And then you're like, okay, you apologize. You're like, okay, I'm sorry. Should have not been taken. Should have not been doing that. And I will not do it again. Like, so then you ask him, what can we do so that it's not gonna come to a court case, and yeah, because that's for sure what you want to avoid. And then he'd be like, you know, we can settle this maybe with 20,000. So he wanted $200. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not paying him $200. And I'm like, no. And then you start, now it's your bargaining, your negotiation skills, and then you start telling him stories about, you know what, that's what I always do when I'm in trouble. Like, I tell him, you know, I had to go there, like right now I don't have any money, I'm a single mom raising my baby, and it's the best when Zahi is with me in the car, they see actually my baby, and I'm like, you know how hard it is, and then I play the card that I have been, just give them stories, because they are also giving you stories. Then you play the card that your child has been sick and you needed money for the hospital, you spent so much money yesterday, or you're going somewhere very important because of your child or your family, or someone died. It's like the stories they come up with. Or I give him my actual real story and tell him, you know, I'm a single mom, and the father is actually Kenyan, but he has left me. And this is like a typical story in Kenya, where like white people like me have a child from a Kenyan and then the men disappear. And they don't, like, so that's like a typical thing. So that's what I pretend, like the one who's, you know, who's needy. And then they feel like, okay, I'm so sorry to hear that. And then he goes down and he's like, okay, you know what? I had already told my boss, but I'm sure he can accept 5,000 shilling, which is like $50. And so the negotiation goes and goes and goes. And then he will even pretend, taking his phone. And they do that all the time. I have not gone through that once. They do that all the time. So they will call their boss and say, you know, this lady is here, and then they talk in the language, but they talk half English so that you understand a few words. Yes, no, you know, she has a problem. Can we help her and go down? Because now instead of 5,000, maybe you can pay like even less. My goal was to get out of that for free, or just to pay like 1,000 or 2,000. And I actually did ended up tipping him 1,000 shilling and my phone number. I know that is ridiculous and that's a story, please don't tell anyone. But that is sadly how it works sometimes. But at least I got out of that without a court case and without paying what he initially wanted, $200 or a court case of $400 or $500 plus lawyer costs and whatever. So, long story short, police can really try to get you into a very bad position and you don't want that. So just be friendly, be humble and try to apologize and negotiate the game when it comes to money, because you don't want to end up paying so much money to them. And you should not even start bribing if you have not done anything wrong at all. Okay, then there is another thing I wanted to mention here as well, because there are two types of police check or military checks. So one is the police, it's like the road control, they're checking your license. These are the ones who wants to eat your money. They just want to find a mistake on your car, that there's a problem with your tires or with your insurance or something. And then there's the other type, which are really the most friendly and the one who actually take care of the security of this country is like the military. Okay, I'm not sure if they're called military, but I believe so. So these are like the scary ones. Like when you go there, you see them, they are fully covered, you only see their eyes, they have the machine guns. And they usually stand, like now when we cross to Garissa, or we did not cross to Garissa directly, but from county to county, or if you go from Samburu to northern Kenya, they are there. Because now these are like the dangerous areas and their job as the military now is to control your safety. So they're gonna stop you, but they don't harm you, they don't want your money, they just do their job. They don't need to be corrupted at all. But they might look scary. They want your ID, they want or your passport to make sure who you are. So you have always to carry your original papers when you drive a car or when you travel at all, like long distances. You have to get your original papers. And now they're gonna check your bags. So they might come and take out your entire bags, all of them, everything which is there, and then you're the one to put it back and to close them. Sometimes you find them even stopping entire bus. Every Kenyan, every local who is there, they have to get out, they check every ID, all the bags, everything. That's their job, to make sure that no drugs, no guns, nothing like dangerous or no terrorists are crossing. So that's what these people are looking for. But they don't look for you. So you are safe and they don't look for money. So this is actually my favorite, guys. It's just that they look scary. Whew, that was a heavy one. I don't want to scare you too much. I just want you to tell like all the hidden things, what it actually means if you want to become a driver in Kenya. So the fourth point is like all the tips and tricks, like the juicy parts now, what I think, before I come to like if I would actually recommend it or when or how I would recommend it to self-drive in Kenya. So first of all, what I did is I was driving on a Sunday for a very good reason. Sundays, Kenyans usually they are in church, like there's less traffic, people are not on the road. And if you want to drive long distances, like over 6 or 8 hours, driving on a Sunday, oh my God, is the best. You can do to yourself as a gift. Even Saturday is a good day. Avoid Monday, avoid Friday. These are like the high traffic, the high working times. People are going in and out. So yeah, Sunday is perfect. Also start very early in the morning. So we started at 5, so that you have like 1 hour or 1.5 hours until the sun is really up. And then the first, until 8, from 5 to 8 is really the time now. You can go far distances without seeing any car. I mean, a few cars and nowadays, of course, they will be there. But you are literally by yourself and this is the time now. You can go and you can, you know, get some distances, because when it comes to 9, 8, 9, 10, you'll be in traffic or there's lorries and then you can drive behind with 40 kilometers per hour, 50, and this can be tiresome. The second thing is do not underestimate the speed of driving. So on Kenyan roads, we drive like 80 kilometers per hour. This is like the normal, the standards. But you have, if you're in traffic, you can be stuck like in Nairobi or somewhere at some places or Mombasa for 2 hours without moving at all. Like this is normal, especially to rush hours around 4, 5 p.m. in the afternoon or like mornings 7, 8, 9 when people go to work. So you really want to avoid this time windows in being in any big city. And when it comes to the distances, I feel like, as I said, for 650 kilometers, it took us 12 hours to drive. So 10.5 hours driving and 1.5 hours of breaks in between. And this was really like, I was driving fast, like especially the first ones, 100, 120, even sometimes 140, because the roads were free. Until a bump comes. This is another thing. Like in Kenya, they do that because I feel like Kenyans don't follow rules, or it's like, in general, it's just the countries. Kenyans, if you're listening, you know I love you guys. That's why I live here. But the bumps are like the speed bumps. So that means you might not see them. Sometimes they come out of the blue, especially if it's dark. And then you have a huge bump, which is like the brake. So you have to stop. So this is like the way they make cars slow down. So you can speed only in certain areas, and allowed is only 80 kilometers per hour, not unless you're on a highway, then it's 100. But in reality, you might, I don't think it's realistic to count with 100 kilometers per hour if you really want to drive, because lorries, traffic, there's so much in between. Then, fueling is another thing. Depending on your car, where you get it, maybe you can talk to the tour company or the car rental service where you rented your car, or you're planning to rent your car, is about fueling. Most likely you have to pay for your own fuel and fuel yourself. And I only fuel either at Shell or petrol, because I feel like some of the petrol stations, especially the smaller ones, their fuel is not clean. And if I put that into my car, I know my car is getting spoiled. And my fuel pump already has issues. I don't want to have unclean fuel there, and then my car gets stuck, and then I don't want to even imagine what's going to happen. You are alone on the road, your car breaks down again. I had this several times, and I do avoid this. This is another tip. What you need definitely is an emergency number of course, where you got the car from. Who's going to help you in case you break down somewhere? So you need to get the number, an emergency number where you got your car from, or if you don't have a phone or there's no network, which can happen many, many times in Kenya, just get out, and the locals are super, super friendly, and they're gonna help you. I have had tire breakdown everywhere. I do not know how to exchange a tire. Not yet, I'm working on that. But locals, they're gonna help you. So just get out, be friendly, ask for help. You will see the moment you stop, they will already come. And then they will help you, and then you just tip them something small. And now you choose what you want to tip, maybe 500 shilling, which is like $5, or 1,000 is like $10, depending on how much work, how much time they have actually spent, and how many people they are as well. So usually we say exchanging a tire is like $5. If you go to a garage somewhere, you pay $5 for the local ones to exchange the tire. So this is just for you to get an idea. So you can accept the help of locals anywhere, and they will just help you and fix your car. But now, of course, if you have a serious problem, then they need to show you where the next garage is, where you can actually go there and fix your car. So that means you have to be always prepared, and would be good if you would have some knowledge. As a mechanic, it's not a must. I don't know anything. I'm learning, I'm upgrading myself. But I think it would be advisable, or would be a good start, if you at least know the basics about the car. Then another thing I have put here is, I just bought it now. It's a teaser. It's like a torch, but it has an electroshocks. Because still, at least, I mean, I'm alone. I don't have a man with me. And one of my biggest fears, not mine, of my family, is that something happens, because I'm just a woman driving with myself, my nanny and my son. So I got a torch, a teaser torch. I always have it with me. And it's an it can electrocute someone. So you are actually allowed to carry a weapon in your car. I'm not saying get a gun, don't, but something to make you feel more safe, as long as you don't carry it out of the car or attack people, random people. But for self-defense, you're welcome to do that, and I have that as well. It's in my car or in my tent. Doesn't matter where I am. So this is something I do just for myself. Then of course it's good to have extra lights or torches, because you might not know, you underestimate the time, and then you get stuck somewhere, it's darkness, you don't really see. You need the big torches, not the small ones, even the big ones. And a local SIM card. Get a SIM card so that you can actually do calls, because sometimes you might not have internet. I mean, you cannot get bundles, but you could do call through the local SIM card and then actually call for help. Because what do you do if you don't have network? That's another problem. So the next point, number 5, is the cost. I got already asked on my Instagram, is like, oh my god, Sinja, what is the cost about car hiring, car renting, what do I do? So first of all, I would not even rent a 5-seater car, not unless you just go short distances, Nairobi, Naivasha or something like that, for 2-3 hours. But if you really drive in Kenya, you need a 4x4 car. And these cars, they go for like $80 to $100, I would say, per day. But this is the car only. It does hopefully come with the insurance, but it does not come with fuel or a driver. So now you have to fuel on top. So because people ask me about giving an idea, fuel here is also not very cheap, not very expensive as well, but for us locals, it's quite expensive. So right now the fuel cost is at 200 shilling, that's like $180 per liter. And I think that's quite expensive. So I paid for 650 kilometers for my 4x4, I have a Prado TX. I paid around 16,000, so around $150 for fuel, plus $80 the day before for servicing the car, you know, engine, new motor oil and everything. I think if you hire your car, you don't have to pay that service fee. But just have in mind, 650 kilometers driving, 1 day driving, $150 on fuel. That's quite a lot. So do not underestimate the fuel cost in Kenya. Now, I got a few questions from you guys through my Instagram when I talked about the self-drive. One question was safety. Getting marked driving at night in deserted areas. So one thing I have to say about driving at night is I don't drive at night, of course. Sometimes there are some small distances or I have to do something or you get late. But I highly recommend driving during daytime. There's no reason for you to drive at night. Try to manage to go early in the morning, as I mentioned, from around 5 or maybe even a bit earlier, and then make sure you arrive at 6, latest 7, because it already gets dark in Kenya by 6:30. At 7 it's pure darkness. So I would not advise driving at night at all for your own safety. The other thing in terms of safety, which I mentioned, is I have a small teaser torch, so get yourself something which can protect you. But apart from that, you're okay, you don't need anything. It's not like this is a dangerous country and people coming to rob you or anything. Robbing when you have your own car, what is ringing bells in my mind is that when you are inside the car, I always lock my car. Some cars do that automatically, I always do that, so that people from outside cannot just open doors. And also, you have to watch out, that one is for sure, not actually you, it will be the ones who are driving with you, is if you're on your phone or something. In Kenya, people like to just come on motorbikes or boda-bodas and then snatch your phone out of the window. So try to close the window because they can really come and snatch anything you have inside there. But apart from that, I don't think I have like additional safety advice. I don't want you to feel like it's not safe, because it is safe. You can drive in Kenya by yourself. That is okay. Do you need a local guide to follow us? Now this depends on where you're going, that's why I take this question already into would I recommend driving. So I recommend driving when it comes like now. I drive, even to Masai Mara you can drive. From here to the coast, what I just did, you can drive. But now when it comes to your safari or the actual activities, I would not recommend you to drive. Like going on a proper safari, you need a guide. And that's why I'm saying that, do you need a guide to follow you? You don't need someone to follow you. In northern Kenya or some areas which are not very safe, you need a guide to drive your damn car. On safari, what you need is, you need someone to drive your car. Because how are you gonna make the roads? They might be really bumpy, flooded. You might not know the way inside, you might get lost, you might not know where the animals are. So what happens in Kenya is that self-drive safaris are not really common. You can do it, you can hire a guide on top, he can drive your car, or you can get a guide maybe from the hotel where you're staying in, and then he organizes everything. But usually the way how safaris in Kenya work is that, at least for your safari part, where you're like really in a game drive, like in a national park or reserve, is you have this package for like 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, organized by a tour company. And that's also where I come to the game and where I can say I can help you, because this is my job as a travel consultant. I advise so many clients what is the best way. When do you need to have a tour company to help you plan your safari experience? When can you actually take that car and drive by yourself? What are the experiences you can plan for yourself so that you can feel free? Because I feel you want to drive a car like the way I do it, because this is just a feeling of freedom, independent. You can go wherever you want to go, and you can just pitch your tent here and then pitch your tent there. But this might not be the easiest thing. Actually, right now, the first time, and I'm gonna make another video about it, I just bought a tent. I have done wild camping and camping in Kenya, but this is also something I cannot recommend for first-time travelers, because you need to be an experienced camper and an experienced driver and knowing Kenya very well, which areas are safe to camp just by yourself and where you actually need a tour company behind you, because at the end of the day we have lions, we have dangerous animals, like so many things can happen that you get actually attacked by animals or something else, and of course you don't want that. So in that case, I highly advise you to get a consultant or a tour company involved for your safari planning. And you guys know, if you want to work with me or get my professional advice, that you can find the link in the free Kenya travel checklist down below. And if you open that, you will find a link, and then you can apply for a call with me or my team members, and then we can help you to plan your trip in Kenya. You can still try to plan to be a bit independent and then still have your safari organized and try to make a mix, or just find what works best for you. So I don't want you to feel like everyone is saying, oh, it's not possible, don't do that, don't do that. If you want to do that and if you feel confident, damn girl or damn guy, please go and do it. But if you are already afraid and you think, oh my god, my car could break down, what do I do? What if I don't have network? Because there are so many places in Kenya, especially inside the safari parks, which do not have network. So you cannot even call for help. It's not gonna come. So you have to literally sit down there and wait. And you're not allowed to get out of the car because there are lions, leopards. Anything can happen inside a game reserve. So you have to just be patient and wait for someone to come and help you. That's why it's super important to always have enough snacks or food and drinks in your car. So this is like some of the things you have to just get prepared before you even get going. Yeah. So I hope you liked this episode. It was a different kind, but I got so excited. Like you have seen, I've not even changed. Like I was like from the workout in the morning. This is like my, my workout style and beach outfit, and I was like, no, I have to shoot this video now. I just wanted to talk about it. And yeah, I hope you liked this episode, and I see you soon next week in the next episodes all around how you can travel best and safe in Kenya. Bye bye.